Go
I
ahead and
can't hear
record.
nothing though. My computer just be tripping. So I hope that y'all heard that prayer
Definitely heard the
as
whole
I try
thing.
to fix this bootleg sound.
Heard the whole thing, man. It's all good, man. Well, no, welcome everybody, man. Welcome back on a great Thursday. I'm so hyped, not only because it's Thursday, but this is the most faces that I've seen in a long time, bruh. So like, shout out to y'all for, and it's no shade to anybody that don't have your camera on. It's okay, bro. You don't have to have your camera on at all. But as far as the last couple of weeks, bro, it's so good to see people, bro, and not gray boxes. So shout out to y'all. But what's up, man? And so for those who weren't here yesterday, I mean, not yesterday, last week, I'm gonna just catch you up on what we was talking about. So pretty much, we as a church are in a theme for the entire year. And so we've been talking about being built to last. And so, we just pretty much talked about what does it mean to be built to last, and as Christians, we want to be the best form of ourselves as we're going out into the world. And so we don't want to be, wavered or anything by storms or any situation that comes in. We want to actually be able to have a solid foundation and stand solidly on the word of Jesus. And so that's what the whole theme pretty much of the church is. But as a Bible study, we wanted to really get creative with it. We wanted to get creative with it as a young adult ministry as well. And we wanted to take every single month and pretty much break down the different steps that it takes to be built to last, pretty much. And so as we reflected on it, me, Pastor Najari, we was thinking about a way that we can kind of illustrate this by, in a way, teaching y'all how to build a house and what are the steps that it takes to build a house, but also giving you practical steps that you can take as you're going into the world every single day. And so this month, we are going to be talking about vision. As we go into a new year, the main thing that we want to establish is vision. And I think that it's a thing that is known by everybody, but it's not necessarily articulated or presented in a proper way so you can continue to live out vision as you go into the year. It's always just a January, semi-February thing, and it dies off. And we don't want that to be. We want you to have a really good concept of what vision is, while also giving you just resources and tools that you can use to continue to elevate your vision as you go forward. And so again, this month we'll be talking about vision. The next month we'll be talking about a different part of a house. The next month we'll talk about a different part of the house. And so I encourage everybody to come back weekly. I know it's hard, sometimes things come up, but the more that you come back, the more that you'll be able to have these resources and tools that can equip you to be built to last. All right, cool. So that's the spiel. So if you wasn't here on Thursday of last week, I put the notes together. So you can find those notes on the Instagram, 1800PRAYFORME. But pretty much you can walk through step by step what we talked about. And at the end, I gave you all an exercise that you can actually write out what your vision is for your spiritual life, vision for your family, vision for your relationships, vision for your health, et cetera, your finances. And so by a show of responses, and be honest, bro, because God is watching, by a show of responses, who all did it? And it's okay if you didn't. I just, be honest, who all was able to do it in a certain way. What's up?
I got halfway. No, not halfway. I got like maybe one more question to do.
Okay, cool.
I'm done with it.
Terica, you said you did it too. She got her hand up. Terica, you could type it. I know you've been typing, unless you want to speak it. But you and Rio, I did it in my head, but didn't write it down, but I need to. Yeah, definitely. I encourage everybody to write it down so you can just have a tangible piece of paper so you can look at it as time progresses. But Rio, we'll start with you real quick. With it, was there anything that was revealed to you with like revelation as you like did it, or just talk about your entire process of doing it? Like, what did you get from it?
Just trying to figure out what are the steps, like basically what are the necessary steps to get to those goals. I wrote it all down, but I left my notebook at work. But I did write it all down. Just basically when I wrote those things down, I had to start thinking about what are the small things that I got to do to get there. Like Like, be detailed, be intentional about these goals. Just don't write it down. Write down what you can do to achieve these goals. That's what it was for me for the most part.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Terica, I don't know if you want to speak, or if not, you can type it inside the chat, but what did you get from it?
I got from it a lot of things that I kind of pushed off mentally.
Mhm.
So it was some things that I have thought about making my goals, or it was a thought, but I never really thought that I could do it.
Mhm.
And so those kind of resurfaced. I prayed about it beforehand, and they just kept resurfacing. So I'm like, well, is this God trying to tell me that these should be my goals? So that's kind of how I went about that.
That's good. That's good. And that's good to hear. And I think that also, I think, like you said, we push them off always and often. And what it looks like today might not be what it looks like halfway through the year as well. So, we're going to also, as time progresses, continue to revisit this. This is not going to be just a thing we do in January and leave it in January. I want it to kind of live with us the entire year. And so that's cool to hear. And I would definitely love to hear your update as you go forward. And I'll take one more. Mally, what was your take on your situation?
My bad. What was the question?
What was your take? Like, what did you get from your exercise with it, like trying to do it?
It was interesting because I had already made like a vision board for the year. So with this kind of second one, I tried to be more detailed or more intentional with what I was saying and be more detailed. And I tried to do the Bible verse thing too. So
Okay, that's what's up, man. So like I said, I definitely want to hear as the year progresses where y'all are inside those steps. So this Bible study is not going to be revolved around that. I just was curious to see like where y'all were with it. So don't feel pressured to like, oh, I gotta hurry and do this real quick because that's what we're talking about. So it's all good. But as I was coming into today, I was just thinking about, all of the pandemic time frame that we've had. We were birthed in the pandemic. And so thinking about us being birthed in the pandemic, my mind kind of just does this little wormhole thing where it takes one thing and then it like goes into the next and the next and next. And so as I was thinking about us being birthed in the pandemic, I also thought about how there was a whole bunch of babies birthed in the pandemic as well. Shout out to Nori. Nori was birthed in the pandemic, and so we got Dree, and Teddy, they about to have children inside the pandemic. And so I think there's such a blessing, children are a blessing, and so you think about how many children were just like birthed inside this time frame and have to like literally have this attached to their birth, like when you're growing up, just like how like people think about like crack in the 80s and stuff, like we have like the COVID years, and so like they'll actually be like COVID babies as they're growing up. And so that was just interesting. But I was thinking also how, the world was in so much chaos. However, something so beautiful like a child was birthed inside such a, crazy situation or such a unnecessary or turbulent situation or a turbulent season of life. And so as we reflect on this, I was just thinking about, when you have a child, let me bring it back. Let me rewind. When you have a child, the way that you prepare for having that child is completely different from how you used to operate and move before you had a kid, right? Like you're not like, oh man, I can just do this, I can do that. Like you're actually preparing. Like, we went to Dree and Teddy's like baby shower, you prepare baby showers so you can prepare for the child, like you get Pampers, you get clothes, you get resources, tools that will help you equip you to be better prepared when that child comes in. So you're not just coming in, or the child's not coming into the world empty-handed or having no resources. And so with this, I was just thinking, I was pondering on it. Why do you think that we get so prepared for a child that is being birthed into the world? However, when God like plants a vision into us, we never really prepare for it the exact same way that we prepare for a child. And that's an open floor. That's an open floor. That ain't just like oh, I'm trying to drop the mic, type of thing. Like it's a real deal question. Like, why do you think we don't prepare for the thing? Like, because God gives all of us dreams. He gives us all visions. He plants that in Teddy. He plants that into the
Nah, you talking, boy. Yeah.
but it's serious. It's true. He gives us all dreams. He gives us all visions. Some of them sound, realistic or unrealistic. However, majority of the time is an unrealistic thing that he plants into us. However, we don't change the way that we operate in the world, and we don't change how we prepare for that vision to come to life the same way we prepare for children. Why is that? Anybody answer that feels led to?
I have an answer for that. I think that when God puts it on you, it wasn't a part of your original plan. Like when we found out that we were pregnant, like I was washing cars. You know what I'm saying? Like barely making enough to cover our rent. And now, like, I had no idea how I was going to be able to support my family, but I knew that I wanted to be able to retire Dree. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't prepared to do so at the time. So when God hit us with that, for me personally, it was just like, all right, we got to shift like ASAP. And God literally put us both in the positions that we need to be. And I feel like a lot of people will depend on God to go, okay, well, God wants me to do this. God's going to take care of the steps for me to get there. And a lot of people pray without actually doing the work to get to where God needs them to be, in my personal opinion. And now we've been wanting a child. So if we're going to prepare and make sure that everything was set for that child, but I also believe that in the sense of us getting prepared, God was also making those steps to make sure that we were in the right place that we needed to be. So I feel like if we didn't take those steps to start preparing for a child, start preparing for what we need to do, then like there's a possibility that God wouldn't have been able to fulfill the whole promise that he has for us.
No, that's good, man. That's good to hear, man. And shout out to that, because you're 100% right. And it's really cool hearing from both the future parent and the parent currently, you know what I'm saying? So this is cool. I love like the takes that y'all are about to give. But go ahead, Najari.
I kind of wanted to wait to hear some other things, but I'll go if nobody else shares. I get down.
Go ahead.
I want to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, was somebody else want to?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Kwane.
Okay, so I was thinking that one of the reasons might be because in comparison to a baby, like that's real. It's going to come in 9 months. But when God places a vision, not all the time do we think that it's possible or it's true, or you be like, did God really say this? So you don't really work for it because you can't see how real it is versus a baby. You know that the baby's going to come, and it's just more, I don't know, it's just more realistic.
Okay. I got a comment for that later, but I got you. Anybody else?
I have something. So I agree with Kwane. I feel like with pregnancy, it's a guaranteed timeline. So you're going to do your sort of 9-month average. The child's going to get birth either one way or the other. You know what I mean? So like there's a guaranteed already set routine that we kind of are already aware of. Whereas when God places a vision, we don't get the trajectory, like we don't get the whole blueprint of like how it's going to happen, because we have free will and we can make decisions, and that kind of alters things. You know what I mean? I feel like certain circumstances can alter the route that we go about in accomplishing the dream, or not the dream, or for the vision that come to pass. Yeah. I know what I'm talking about.
I got you. That's good. Go ahead. Anybody else? Now go ahead, Najari.
for me personally, I know in my personal life and with some things that I've heard from God, I mean, clearly, like this was a no doubt about it at this point in time. Um, Fear crippled me in some of those aspects, to where I thought the dream was just too big, like, hold on, I'm gonna need you to, like, this is a supersized vision that you're giving me, God, and I'm gonna need you to give me the smaller, the one that really is for me. You know what I'm saying? Because this outgrows me, the vision that you've given me. And I didn't feel like personally, um, that it was humbling, but it was also like scary that he could use me to do something that I believe that he was calling me into, like the gall of God, you know what I'm saying? To put something like that on my life that I wasn't ready for too, that I didn't want that vision for myself. Because I think sometimes I might be jumping the gun. I don't know, you might be going here. And I think sometimes when it comes to vision and God, he knows what's best for our lives, but we already have an idea of what we want for our own lives. So I heard God sometimes saying, hey, pastor, and then I was saying in my own right, nah, this could not be it. No way you can use me, not nobody from the east side to talk about you. Nah, So what's the other vision that you got? You know what I'm saying? Because this sounds like a backup plan. So I really couldn't trust, the vision of God. I wasn't ready for it even to receive it. So
That's good, man. That's good. Even what you said, that's a bar, like we treat God's plan like it's the backup plan. Like we want our plan to be the plan A, and we want God's plan to be plan B, just in case like everything don't work. That's interesting. I had a little challenge to Key and Kwane, and just know that I do this. This is just something I do. It doesn't mean that I agree with it or anything, but it's just to give you a perspective to like open your mind. Y'all both said that, like, with a baby, there's a level of like knowing, like, you're having a baby, you know what I'm saying? Like you get the pregnancy test, it says I'm having a baby, 9 months is the timeline, say we have a baby, whatever. However, just because, you know what I'm saying, the pregnancy test can say, you have a baby or whatever on the way, who's to say that that baby is one coming in 9 months? Because we know that babies can come at any given time, but then also the possibility of not even having the baby. There's been tragic moments where, there's been promises of a baby. However, like, you weren't able to fulfill that baby inside, your pregnancy, unfortunately. And so I think that when it comes to us as individuals, even with the certainty of life, we can get into, or the routine of life, I should say, we can get into a mindset where we can say, oh, this is an expectation because this has been shown. But in the same light, even biblically, we have seen through scripture multiple times, countless times, where God has planted a vision to people and it shows that it works. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the evidence is there just as much as the evidence is there that you're going to have a child in 9 months. It might not be a 9 month thing, that it happens, but it's not always a 9 month thing to even have a baby, And so that's just something that I want all of us to think about, when it comes to just how we even like look at God's vision and promises to us, because, God's vision and promise to us, usually it doesn't come quick, obviously, but a baby doesn't come quick either. And in the same way that you think about a baby being born, there's 3 things that are a given in every single situation. It's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight, and a vision is not going to be overnight, in the same way. You're going to lose some things, whether that is sleep, whether that's people, whether that is, your body, there's certain things that you lose in the sense of being pregnant, but also when God cast a vision on you. And then you also experience pain. Pain is an inevitable thing that happens in every single process of getting vision and stuff like that. So that's just, a thought process to think about. But again, this is literally how my mind was working as far as thinking about how to do today. So I was thinking about being birthed inside, the pandemic, us as 1-800, and then that led to thinking about babies, and then thinking about that, everything that we just talked about right then. But then it also, tied it back and made me think about a story that could possibly like mirror that. And, you know, obviously when you think about births inside the Bible, we always run to Mary, and that story is an incredible story because obviously the Messiah was birthed through, you know, Mary. However, the story that I wanted to talk about, and I think that we hear the name all the time, but we don't necessarily know the process and the steps always of how it got there. I wanted to dive into like the story of Abraham and Sarah. And so that's what we'll be talking about today. And so everything was just intro. I just wanted to, you know, see where y'all minds was, but yes, Sarai and Abram. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to be diving into 3 chapters of Genesis. We'll speak on them in between each one, but I think that it's really important that, again, this year we kind of grow spiritually, mature within, but also have a biblical knowledge, you know. And so I want to, you know, leave every single Bible study kind of having a level of knowledge coming from, whether that be a story, scripture, whatever the case may be, but just something that we can kind of like eat and be able to regurgitate and talk about as the weeks go on. And so if everybody has their Bibles, if you can pull your Bibles out, your Bible apps or whatnot, and we're going to turn to Genesis 15. Tell me when you get there. Give me a reaction that I know that you're there. Genesis 15. Okay, I got 1 thumbs up. Can I get like 4? Up, 2, 3, 4, 5. I bet. All right, hold on. I'm getting situated. All right, cool. We going into Genesis 15. And let's see how many. Ooh, now my Bible was spazzing out. Can I have 3 volunteers to read? Just 3 real quick. Got 1 in Key. Anybody else feel led to read? Led to read. All right, I got Mally and I got Najari. I bet. So let's see, it is 21. Really, I put 20 together. So 3. Can I have everybody read 7 verses each? So we'll start with Key. Key, you'll do 1 through 7. Najari, you got 8 through 14. And then Mally, you got 14 to the end.
Did you want us to read in a certain translation?
Let's see. Can we read in the NLT? Well, we got Janiyah coming through. What's up, Michaela? I didn't get a chance to speak to you. Desiree and Janiyah as y'all came in. Hello. Chris, I got you for the next time frame. Hello. All right, cool. Yes. So yeah, if everybody can go to the NLT version. If you don't have that translation, it's okay. It's close in both translations that I've seen.
Also, sorry if y'all can hear stuff in the background.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, so starting at verse 1, says the Lord's covenant promise to Abram. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, "Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great." But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all my wealth. You have given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will be my heir." Then the Lord said to him, "No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir." Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, "Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have." And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession."
Awesome. All right, Najari, 7 through 14, please.
But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it?" The Lord told him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." So Abram presented all of these things and killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle and laid the halves side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. Some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and terrifying darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end, they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in a peace and will be buried at a ripe age." You say 7-14
Yes, sir. And
or
then
8-14? Yeah, I
yeah,
think I
8
read
through
that short.
14.
So I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, you good. And then Mally, you got 15 to the end.
After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, "I have given this land to your descendants all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, the land now occupied by the Canaanites, the Kittites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites."
You good, man. Thank you so much, man. So, man, this is one of my favorite like passages when I think about like God interacting with somebody in the Bible. Specifically when we're looking at verse 5, when he says, like, then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, "Look up in the sky and try to count the stars." Like, that's how many descendants you'll have. And I know like we're in Atlanta, so you can't really just see stars at night, but like y'all seeing like pictures of like how stars look outside. And I don't know about you, but I can't count all those stars. And so just the fact that he was saying, that's how many descendants, that's how many people are going to come through your lineage, just by yourself. Granted, putting everything in context at this time frame, this is Genesis 15. Abram is 75 years old. He's 75 years old with no kid at all. So when we think about just the fact of, think about somebody like your great grandparent, your grandparent, whatever, having a kid at that age, that sounds unrealistic. That's something that like logically just doesn't make sense. But that's when God does his greatest work, in situations that are unrealistic to our common eye. And it's like, something that can only happen through God. And so what happens when God plants a vision that is unrealistic to your sight and requires a level of obedience and faith? What happens? And I wanted to know from you all, have y'all ever been in a situation where, God told you that you will do something, or God told you you will have something, or he cast vision on you, but the situation was just unrealistic? Like there was no way in your mind you could see that actually prospering, because you was looking at your current situation as like a measure of what could and couldn't happen. So have you ever been in that position where, God planted a vision on you that seemed unrealistic to your everyday sight? Anybody ever experienced that? Anybody experiencing that in any type of way? No. Okay.
I don't know if this is like, if this pertains to like spirit, but so my father passed away when I was 6 months old. And I will always like daydream. I daydream a lot, by the way, but I will always just daydream about having a picture, like, because I only have one, well, I had one picture of him, but I will always just daydream about having more pictures of him and finding just miraculously a picture of just he and I together. And that's been like a daydream of mine for the longest. And last March, I forgot what I was doing, but I know I was sad at the moment. And I just got a text message from a random number. And when I opened it up, it was a picture of me as a baby and my dad on Christmas. And Christmas is my favorite holiday. And that just had me bawling in tears because that was something that I always just daydreamed about. And for me, it was kind of like a miracle to just get a picture. It was from my great auntie, by the way, but I didn't have her number. But yeah, so I think that was something that was for me.
Wow, that is beautiful, man. And I'm so happy that happened to you, and especially, and that's an amazing, amazing testament to this, just the fact that that's something that you've been wanting your entire life, pretty much, and for that to seem like, that's just unrealistic because you've gone a amount of years without having it, and so for that to happen and experience it, that's just small stuff that, like, a lot of us, we kind of take for granted, and we think about all of these big miraculous things, but just something as small as just like seeing an image, what I'm saying, of you and your father, man, that is beautiful. And so thank you for sharing that. And I think that, like, even when we think about ourselves as people, a lot of us are young adults. So a lot of us have been coming out of college. You might not have went to college or whatever, but you are trying to, elevate in your status as far as whatever your career path is. And so a lot of times we wander a lot because we either don't know what we want to do, or we have an idea or a concept of what we want to do. But when we apply to something, we get turned away, or we get like doors closed in our face, or whatever the case may be, all the time. And it can get frustrating, and it can become a situation where it gets very discouraging and stuff. And so, think about the level of patience that one, God has, but then God requires of us. Because when you think about, Abram in this situation, he's again, 75 years old, and he's 10 years older than Sarah or Sarai, and she's 65 years old. So they are both wanting a child. It's not like today's time where, you have like millions of dollars to like aspire for. Like, money is not a thing, of that like type of caliber in this time frame. And so what luxury is, and what, like, wealth is your lineage and your children. And so, and just it goes down to, at the end of the day, what's the biggest thing that God wants us to get when it comes to just life in general, is like what is important to us, our family, and the people that are around us and stuff. Like, he instills that all throughout the Bible. But just think about the fact that, they were wanting this so much, and they had a plan probably inside their 20s and their 30s to have a child, and it was trying, and it just didn't happen. And when we think about our own plans, we make 6-month plans, we make 3-month plans, we make year-long plans. But what happens when our 6-month plans turn into 11 years of waiting, or 75 years of waiting? You know what I'm saying? That's just something that I want us to think about. Like, is that something that you can continue to commit to and continue to believe God after he told you? Key, go ahead.
That was a good question. Like, what if the timeline, your 6 months, turned into like a long time? And what I was thinking when I was reading verse 2 was the fact that Abram acknowledges God as being sovereign, but then he hits him with what good are all the things that you give me and all the ways I'm being blessed if you're not giving me a son? And I don't know about y'all, have y'all ever felt like you were thriving in one area of life, but it was like, dang, if I just got this, and this, then it will all make sense. And I'm just like, I know I get like that. I'm like, bro, like, sometimes if I'm being honest, sometimes I'm like, dang, like, what if I have this cool job and everything, but I don't have someone to share it with? Or like, maybe if you just give me this car, this will be nice. I can like look fly and then have the car, but I just think it's interesting, and it just shows his honesty about like, I feel so full in one area, yet I feel so empty when it comes to that thing that's really pulling at my heart. And I don't know if anybody else can speak to that, but just want to mention that.
That's good, man. Did anybody want to speak to that, or did anybody relate to that? Go ahead, Dree.
I was gonna say that like before me and Teddy like got pregnant, if anybody knows me, I've been wanting a baby like for my whole life. Like I always want babies, always wanted to be a mom. But like Teddy asked me, he was like, you know, if we're not able to ever have a baby, are you going to be content? I'm like, are you going to be content with just me and you? Are you going to be content with it's just me and you and that's it? And, you know, we'll love on other people's babies, but what if that's not what God has for us? And at the time I was like, dang, like, is he trying to say I don't love him? Like, am I missing something here? But now thinking back on it and relating to what you all said, it's like, even if me being pregnant wasn't in God's vision or God's will for us, I needed to be content with exactly where I was. I needed to be content with just me and my husband. I need to be content with exactly where my life is. And that's something that I feel like we just as humans, we struggle with, especially when we see like other people doing things and we see, I mean, me, actually everybody else getting pregnant and having a baby. Like, why can't we have no baby? So for me, it was more so like, I have to sit back and look at what am I going to be content with if God does not do that? You know, if that's not in God's will for us, what am I going to be content with right now? So I feel like sometimes as people, and Christians, we struggle with being content sometimes. And I think that has a lot to do with like, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, y'all get what I'm saying.
No, you're 100% spot on. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, Jesus tried to drive to us is a level in God tried to drive to us a level of contentment. I think that us as humans in our flesh, we just naturally want, you know what I'm saying? We want things that we see. We want, you know, we have our own like desires within in our heart or whatever the case may be. And we just want, and it's so hard to submit, like that level, that submission that we're talking about, as far as just submitting to whatever God's will is for our lives and not the will that we have, is a thing. And that's a thing that, you know, not only y'all struggle with, I still struggle with to today. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that that's just a thing once you get saved and once you get baptized and once you start leading the Bible study, you know what I'm saying? That like, that's something that just like goes away. It never goes away. And that's, you know, a thing that you have to just continue to seek God, you know, regardless of the situation that it is, you have to seek him versus seeking your desires and your wants, because that's when, you know, it turns evil. God doesn't mind us wanting things. You know, God didn't mind Dree wanting to have a child and wanting to be a mother. However, he wanted us to want the contentness of whatever his will is, no matter what the case is, first, before he grants us with what he has for us, because he wants to give you everything that you want and more, but he just wants to do it in an easier way by allowing him to be the provider and the sole provider, and not allowing yourself to look at yourself in the lens as a provider. And so that's really good. And man, all right, cool. I can't stay on it because I got to move through because we got a lot of scripture, but man, so we're going to go to Genesis 16 now. And this is 11 years later. So that was the question that I had for y'all. Like, we get impatient over time, but what happens when your 6-month plan turns into 11 years? And so now Abram is not 75 anymore. He's 86 years old. So again, he's 86 years old. And Sarai, is it Sarai? Before it's Sarah?
Sarai?
I think it's Sarai.
Sarai?
Abram and Sarai, yeah.
Sarai, yes. So Sarai is she is 76 at this time. And so a little context, she's frustrated, he's frustrated, rightfully so. You know, like God has casted this vision of, oh, you're gonna have kids and you're gonna have all of these kids that are descendants and da 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 da. However, 11 years go by and nothing. They try and they don't have no kids. She doesn't become pregnant. What happens when whatever God told you would happen takes 11 years to get? What happens when, you know, God promised you that you're going to have a job, but it takes 11 years for you to get that job? You hit no. And, you know, it takes 11 years for something to happen. And it took further than 11 years, but we're going to talk about what happened in this 11-year part. But I just want y'all to think about like what happens. Do you continue to believe God, or do you take it into your own hands? This is what happens. So I got Chris being a reader. Can I have 2 other readers? Is there anybody else? Okay, I got B. Got one more. One more reader. Anybody feel led to read the word? If not, it's cool. I'll go ahead and read it. It's I'll read it. So it's 15 verses. So we're gonna all read 5 each. And so Chris, you go first, then B. Chris, you got 1 through 5, B, you got 6 through 10, and now I get the rest.
All right. Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, had not been able to bear children for him, but she had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "The Lord has prevented me from having children. Go and sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have children through her." And Abram agreed with Sarai's proposal. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abram as a wife. This happened 10 years after Abram had settled in the land of Canaan. So Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt. Then Sarai said to Abram, "This is all your fault. I put my servant into your hands, but now that she's pregnant, she treats me with contempt. The Lord will show who's wrong, you or me."
Okay, B.
Does it matter the version we're reading in again?
We're reading in NLT, but you're fine.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Abram answered, "Very well, she is your slave and under your control. Do whatever you want. Do what you want with her." Then Sarai treated Hagar so cruelly that she ran away. The angel of the Lord met Hagar at a spring in the desert on the road to Shur and said, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going?" She answered, "I'm running away from my mistress." He said, "Go back to her and be her slave." Then he said, "I will give you so many descendants that no one will be able to count them." That's it.
Okay, good. And the angel also said, "You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael, which means God hears. For the Lord has heard your cry of distress. This son of yours will be a wild man, as untamed as a wild donkey. He will raise his fist against everyone, and everyone will be against him. Yes, he will live in the open hostility against all of his relatives." Thereafter, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had spoken to her. She said, "You are the God who sees me." She also said, have I truly seen the one who sees me?" So that well was named, So that well was named Bir Lahara, which means well of the living one who sees me. It can still be found between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar gave Abram a son, and Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. I'm so sorry if I butcher any of these words, but boy, I do not speak Hebrew. So man, don't this sound like VH1, bro? Like, this is just a lot of mess. It's super drama filled, bro. And that's why it's so cool. Like, when you really look at the Bible and actually put it in context of just things that you can relate to, it really makes it like worthwhile. And so it's just a lot of drama going on. So again, we gonna rewind. So Sarai, she's frustrated. She's definitely like, she's frustrated. She's impatient at this point. She wants a baby so bad, but she's not getting her baby. And so she literally is like, "Abram, like, go and sleep with my servant and have a baby through her so we can raise that kid." So think about how desperate she wanted this kid to like not even come from her, like, but have a surrogate, from her servant or whatnot. And so obviously Abram's a man, so he was just like, all right, cool, or whatnot. And so he slept with the servant, had a kid with Hagar. And so obviously, Hagar, she has the kid, but this isn't just like, oh, she's having a kid, like, and she's giving it away. Like, she has attachment to it. Like, she held this kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, this came through her body. Like, she walked with this kid 9 months or whatever. And so obviously there's a level of attachment where you're not just going to give away your kid. So she becomes kind of prideful about the fact that, hey, like, this is my kid, And so as that time goes on, now Sarai, like, she looks at Abram and is like, this is your fault, and Abram's like, how is it my fault? You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't my fault, that this was your entire plan. And so what happens when we as people hear the plan of God, however we take it on to our own, to form our own plan, and then we get upset when our plan doesn't work out the way that we want it to work out, because we deterred from the actual plan that God had for us. Key, what's up?
I just have comments from a female perspective, really quick. So when I'm reading this, immediately I'm thinking, I don't know, because generally women are more fixers. So imagine your husband's literally like, man, I just want a kid. Like, just telling you sitting there like, I get it. I'm the one that has to carry it, but like, I get you want a kid. So imagine her feeling, I guess, to a point, like feeling like she's letting him down because she's not able to. And when she said in one of the verses, like, well, the Lord prevented me from having children, I'm like, well, who told you that, girl? No one said anything about the Lord stopping you from doing this. If anything, he literally told y'all gonna have 50 million kids. So in that moment, I'm just thinking the pressure she might have felt as the person who's supposed to be like fulfilling her duties, like, dang, I ain't doing it right. And then also another thing that came to my mind is like Abram, because he slept with Hagar, I can just imagine also him being like, well, I'm not the problem here. So listen, maybe it is you, you know what I mean? So those are just my thought processes.
Yep. Hold on. I'm so sorry. You
I
good?
also have a question.
Go ahead.
Would that like count as like what adultery, or is that like out? Because it's like he technically slept with a whole nother woman that's not his wife or his woman, and so I'm just like, what's up with that? I mean, I get it, like why it happened, but it's like, it's kind of like a sin in itself, like the whole,
it's definitely a sin. It's so many messages within that story that's even more than just them not receiving the blessing and trying to do it in their own might. You spoke to it, marriage is so important in this message. And you even see, you'll have so many ways and views of message that's even thrown at you and media, that we see and that are so juicy to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you got the open message, the open marriage, give me the juice. How that work? Like, is it cool for you to be able to do this with all these people and y'all still be, okay? That, let me tell you, somebody in that relationship, whether you doing it before, after, or way after, is gonna feel that same contempt in their heart the same way that Sarai did. You have a very explicit view of what happens when you allow other people into their relationship. But check this out, that's not even juicy enough, right? Stuff that you'll read even before in this story, that you'll even see that God tries to get them to defend their marriage, because Abraham was so ignorant to the point to where that he was so this like free willy and nilly with not accepting God's view of marriage, that when they were in Egypt, he was giving his wife away as his sister. And God was coming to these pharaohs in dreams and saying like, hey, like, if you sleep with that woman, I'm I'm blowing the roof off. Like, like all hell is about to break loose if you sleep with her. And he's like, whoa, like, I know you in a dream, but he told me that this was his sister. So you have so many just images of like, not only this story, but story after story in the Bible of like what truly happens, you know, to your heart when you allow other people into your relationship. And that wasn't even sexual yet. That was just intimacy. That was just allowing other people to be viewed as his wife. You know, he said, I haven't even slept with her yet. And he was like, good. If you don't, and just give her back to Abraham, because he being a fool, you will be good. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many messages. You hit it right on the nail right on the head. It's definitely adultery. He was definitely out of pocket, and they pay for that. You'll see even in his, you know, the story as you continue to read through Genesis, he's like, okay, I'm still gonna bless your family, but you're gonna see why that was a problem.
Yeah, man, definitely, bro. Like, it's just crazy. And again, I encourage everybody, like, I know like we like picking out this story specifically, but like go and read for yourself, because literally the entire story is just crazy, bro. Like the whole story is crazy, and just Genesis in the whole as a whole is a crazy story. Once you get past, you know, Adam and Eve and all of that, like in creation, like it really gets into like really, really wild like situations that happen. And again, this all comes down to, like we said, God creates a pathway for us. The pathway is so simple, is, you know, obey me, don't put nothing else before me. You know what I'm saying? Live your life to glorify me and fulfill my destiny for you. And we are the ones that go away from that. We are the ones that are like, okay, I want to sleep with this person. We are the ones that say, oh, I hear God saying that I need to do this, but I really want to do this. We're the ones who, you know what I'm saying, get in trouble with the law. We are the ones who do these things. It's not necessarily anybody that's putting us in these positions always. There's certain situations that you can't avoid when people put you in those predicaments. However, a lot of the times we choose the paths that we go. What's up, Key?
When you were talking, it just reminded me, like, you can't take what God says and then just run with it. Like, and just, you know, I think a lot of, and I don't know if anybody watches Fusion, but I feel like a lot of people are talking specifically about being guided by God. And this is like, this portion of the story is just a clear testament to like literally taking things, matters into your own hands. That just came to my mind.
No, definitely. And you know, and the greatest thing about God, you know, if we go to verses 8 and 9, yes, this is a terrible situation that happened, but he still redeems terrible situations. And so that should be a, you know, open testament. Like in verses 8 and 9, it says, but Abram replied, oh, I'm sorry, wrong chapter. In 8, it says, the angel said to her, Hagar, Sarai servant, where have you come from and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress, Sarai. She replied, the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her authority. Then he added, I will give you more descendants than you can count. So even in this situation where it wasn't for her to have this level of blessings as far as descendants, you know, this whole story is based on wanting to have descendants. And Hagar wasn't even supposed to have this blessing of descendants. However, she still has the fulfillment of a blessing that wasn't even meant for her. You know, she was just tied up in this entanglement, and she still was able to reap a benefit, just to show you that God is a redeemer, and he's somebody that can take, you know, stained clothes and clean them, or he can take stained situations and clean them. And so for those who don't know, you know, what the descendants turned out to be, like Ishmael is like the father of Islam, you know. And so when you think about, like, you know, the whole Islamic like faith, they're built on the descendants of Ishmael. And so just think about how, like, literally you have like Ishmael and Isaac. Like the story of Ishmael and Isaac, as you go through the Bible, like they're always at war with each other. And it spawns from, and this is not just no like fairy tale stuff, like literally, like the Nation of Islam, and like we all study the same history. This is a history book. So this isn't just something that is like a mythical, like Zeus versus whatever. Like, no, like this is actual like history that showed that them fighting, or this situation led to them fighting, which led to literally nations and nations of division solely off of Abram and Sarai messing up the covenant that God had in place for us. And so just think about how your actions can literally not only alter your experience on earth, but the experience of literally like generations and generations and generations that come after you. And so I think we're so present day mindset where we only think about, oh, okay, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? Or what's going to happen to me today? And think about your kids and your kids' kids and your kids. Like those are the things that we have to kind of start moving at and thinking, okay, if I make this decision, how is this going to impact my entire lineage? So quick tidbit. Did anybody have any points? I don't want to just run through everything. I know we talked about Genesis 15 and 16. So did anybody have anything from either one of those two that you wanted to speak on?
Well, I wanted to speak on the angel of the Lord. Now, I'm not sure if everybody, most people probably wouldn't know this or be theologically in this mindset, but the angel of the Lord was more than likely Jesus. So putting that into perspective, that's literally Jesus coming down to Hagar and he's speaking to her directly. That's an example of Jesus. That's an example of that's an example of, someone other than God the Father in the Old Testament, more than likely.
Man, that's crazy. And just to even think about the fact that Jesus would be speaking to like his great auntie, his great auntie about going back to his great grandmother, you know what I'm saying? Because Jesus came through Abraham's like lineage. So it's like, this is just so like deeper than just, oh, these are random people in the Bible. Like literally the savior of the universe was meant to come through this. And so that's the reason why these situations are so important. And it's so important for us to walk the way that God wants us to walk, because you just never know what God is trying to line up through you. It's never about only you. It's about the grander picture and the bigger picture. God is such a big picture God, and his thought process is so much bigger than we can fathom, that he literally planned, this is Genesis. You know what I'm saying? He planned the savior of the world coming through a person that happened in the beginning stages of the world. Like, that's amazing to me. Janiyah.
I kind of wanted to go back to where we were talking about, like you were saying, like did something happen, like we felt like that's not even possible. So last year around like Mother's Day, so I know the last time I was in Bible study, I was telling you guys like how my grandma passed away, and like like how close I was to her. So I actually had a dream with her in it. Usually she'll come to me in my dreams, and it was this dream. It was kind of like we were in her childhood church, and I could it was like her flying down from heaven, and basically we kind of sat in the church, and I could see her like when I had surgery, I could see her like in the behind me on the table, pretty much making sure like the doctors made sure that everything went right with my knee. Or when my brother had gotten a car accident, I actually could see her like in the dream, like actually like checking her fist, because all 4 airbags came out, and I could actually see her like blocking the airbags so they wouldn't hit him. And he actually came out with no scratches. So it's kind of like, how is this possible even though she's passed away? And that's how I know like God is real, because even though my grandma passed away, she's still here like in spirit, and I can still talk to her and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful. And he confirms that, like God confirms his existence. Like, he doesn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to do anything to show us that like I'm real or whatever. He can be prideful and say like, I'm not going to do nothing, but he does that, and whether that be something as vivid as that to you, or things that are so unconscious that we go through every single day that we don't even think we are here. We're all on a Bible study. you know what I'm saying, in the United States, and we can talk about God, that's not a thing somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? And that's just a blessing and a privilege that he extends to you specifically, that we don't even just think about. We just think, oh, this is, you know, Thursday night Bible study at 7:30, you know what I'm saying? But there's people literally like getting their heads cut off and like burned to death off of even just talking about God or talking about Jesus, you know. And so that's just a privilege, and that's just something that, you know, we have to kind of just be conscious of the fact that we are blessed, and we are blessed to have a God that loves us enough to not only protect us, but also give us confirmation, like Janiyah was saying, that I exist even in the times when you feel like I don't exist. I'm there and I'm existing, and I'm showing you that through your loved ones. I'm showing you that through your circumstances or your situations that you're going through every single day. And so that's beautiful. And so we about to go ahead and wrap this this story up with this last chapter. It's chapter 17. It is 27. It's like 20, we will say like 25, 27. So if I could have another 3, read real quick, another 3 that hasn't read already. So do I have any volunteers of people that can read? Anybody? Don't feel shy. We're going through Genesis 17, and this is the one that's like the climax of everything, really, of this situation. But yes, do you have anybody that's like willing to read?
I'll read.
Okay, who
I
said
can
that?
read too.
I got Don. Who said that? Quane?
Yeah, that was me.
All right, and can I have like, I say,
Can.
who said that?
Naya.
Naya. I get one more person if possible that hasn't read already. I bet Janiyah. All right, cool. I'm gonna break this up so y'all can have good amounts. Okay. Can I have everybody read 7 verses and one person will read 6? So can I have Quane, you read 1 through 7, Don, you read 8 through 14, Naya, you read 15 through 21, and then Janiyah, you read the rest. We reading through the NLT, but if you don't have that version, it's okay.
You said NLT?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So everybody got their chapters that they're reading?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, verses, I'm saying. And just real quick, we started off this story. Abram was 75 years old when he first heard that, you know, God was going to give him kids. Then we fast forward to when he was 86 years old and he slept with Hagar or whatever, had Ishmael. So now he's 99 years old. So that's literally 24 years after he heard the initial vision that he's going to have a kid. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, go ahead, Quane.
Okay. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will make my covenant between me and you and will greatly increase your numbers. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you.
And I will give the entire land of Canaan, where you now live as a foreigner, to you and your descendants. It will be their possession forever, and I will be their God. Then God said to Abraham, your responsibility is to obey the terms of the covenant. You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility. This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep. Each male among you must be circumcised. You must cut off the flesh of your foreskin as a sign of the covenant between me and you. From generation to generation, every male child must be circumcised on the 8th day after his birth. This applies not only to members of your family, but also to the servants born in your household and the foreign-born servants whom you have purchased. All must be circumcised. Your bodies will bear the mark of my everlasting covenant. Any male who fails to be circumcised will be cut off from the covenant family or breaking the covenant.
Then God said to Abraham, regarding Sarah, your wife, her name will not, oh, well, wait, so how's it said? Sarai? Okay, will no longer be Sarai. From now on, her name will be Sarah, and I will bless her and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. King of nations will be among her descendants. Then Abraham bowed down to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100? He thought. And how can Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old? So Abraham said to God, may Ishmael live under your special blessing. But God replied, no, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, just as you have asked. I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation.
All right, cool, man. So we see, God showing up again, one confirming what he already said. He said that they're going to have kids, and this is 24 years later. He's saying the same thing. They're old. Both of them are pretty much like hysterical when they think that this is hysterical. We go to chapter 18. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but in the same light, God shows up and is talking to Abraham about, having a kid. Sarah hears him. And just like how Abraham did in this chapter, and he laughed at the thought of him having a kid, Sarah laughed as well, because she's just like, me at this old age, like I can't bear no children. I'm out of children bearing like age. And God hears her laugh, and he asks her like, why did you laugh? And she's like, oh, I didn't laugh, like trying to play it off. And he's like, yes, you did. And so I think that in this time frame, there's a lot that's going on. One, the fact that God can change your name and your identity. Everything that happened up until this point was Abram, what I'm saying? All the mess ups, all the things that, Najari talked about as far as like him, selling his wife to like, or presenting his wife as a sister, him, sleeping with Hagar, like all of this has happened as Abram, but now God presents him as Abraham in the same light he did the same thing for Sarah. He was able to change their identities after they went through a season of not believing, after they went through a season of wandering, after they went through seasons of sin. And in the same light, he can do the same thing for you. At this point in time, they didn't have baptism. They didn't have a level of, going under and then coming back a new person. But the form, the way that, and I mean, they changed names inside the New Testament as well, but the way that you see God really like changing the identity of people is how he presented a brand new identity, a brand new name to somebody that means something completely different. Like he went from Abram, that meant exalted father, to Abraham, that means father of many. What I'm saying? Sarah means princess. And it's just beautiful, like when you think about how no matter how old you are, because a lot of times we think that, oh man, I can only accomplish this in my 20s, and my 20s are setting me up for the rest of my life. And in some ways that is true, but we see that, God can use you at 75, at 86, at 99, like he's using them in seasons where we think that that's the rest of our life. Like that's the end of our life, and that shows that God is always working. He's not just working in your life for a season to set up the rest of your life for later. Like he's working through you forever. Like until you leave earth, he's always using you and working for you. And so you can't, and we talked about that last week when we was talking about vision and how we was like, oh, a lot of us have visions of just retiring and sitting on an island and kicking our feet up and relaxing and resting. And no, like even when we're retired, we have to rehire, we have to refire, and we have to still continue to grow that level of want to serve and want to be obedient and want to be disciplined when it comes to being used by God. And so that was cool. Sarah also, by the way, means princess for those, because I know I said what Abraham meant. And he promised you, he says, you know, I will give you a son. And so obviously, you know, as we like progress, we're not really going through everything because we're not trying to like stay for a long time, but they ended up having the son Isaac. You know, Isaac becomes, you know, the son, which also means laughter, you know. And so they named the kid Laughter because both of them thought it was hysterical that they even just had kids at 100 years old, you know what I'm saying? 190 years old. Like that's just unheard of. And so it was it's just cool how when you think about even your name, I know we did this exercise last year, but just thinking about like, what does your name mean? Some of us, we might not think that like our name means something, but all of our names mean something. And just to think, does your name actually like complement the way that you live your name out? You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know if you haven't done that. I don't know if you have done that. Hopefully it does or whatever. But I thought that was cool. So thoughts now, what do you think about this entire story? Boy, that boy be on it. It is 9 o'clock. What do y'all think about like the story as a whole, and what did you get from this entire like situation when it comes to just the vision that was casted to Abraham and Sarah at the end of the day, and or Abram and Sarai that led them to being Abraham and Sarah? Like, what did you get from everything? Janiyah, what's up?
I got that you just need to be patient and wait on what God has for you. We're not on his, I mean, he's not on our timing. We're on his timing. And God can show you better than he can tell you. So it's just like, you can't laugh at God because he gonna show you, like, just like in the story, like they was like, I can have a child and look at him old and having kids. So he'll show you better. He'll show you signs, and then either you listen to him or you don't, and he's still gonna show you either way. So you just gotta listen to him.
That's good. Do anybody struggle with this? Like, do anybody struggle with like just the thought of waiting so long for God to fulfill something that you want or you desire or you have a vision of? Anybody like want to speak on that? Just that whole waiting season. Go ahead, Chris.
I can't speak on waiting, but it was mentioned earlier about being content. You know, for example, if you want something, but perhaps it's not what God has for you, that's something that was reaffirmed to me today. Because there is something that I particularly want, and I know that if I were to get it, it would be something that I would have to wait on. But there is no guarantee that I will get it, and I realize that I just need to be content with what I have now and what I may have in the future, even if that means not having that particular thing.
That's good, man. That's good, man. I think, again, we all, like we said earlier, contentness, you're not alone when it comes to that. Like, we all are struggling with it, and we all are trying to do our best to get to that level of 100% contentness. But, man, isn't it a journey to get to that point? Janiyah, what's up?
One thing I know I have like trouble with trying to wait. Well, I had trouble was with my knees. So when I had surgery and stuff, I thought I was gonna be healed in like 6 to 9 months, and I didn't get healed till 2 years later. And it sat me down like, okay, tonight with you, are you gonna lean on your faith with God, or are you gonna try to do it your way? And it took coronavirus, it took everything for me to just say, it's me, it's him saying, hey, I have you. You just have to wait and see what I have for you and see how much you're gonna progress with your need. And now I can run, I can jump, I can do all of that. I can't do everything I used to be able to do, but it's more than I was able to do in 2019. So
Amen.
I just had to wait on him and just wait to see how he was gonna, you know, heal my knee and how he wanted my life to be.
That's beautiful, man. And that's really a great testimony of like just God using, even just different situations that look like burdens to actually be blessings. You know what I'm saying? Like, you spoke on like Corona and all of that. And so he used all of those to really just have you be still and just allow him to work. And so that was good. Kwame, what's up?
Okay. I was gonna say, as far as waiting, I think one of my biggest struggles for waiting for a long time is comparison. Like, be like, okay, God, like, dang, I done waited 2 years and I still don't have this. People that's my age is doing this, that, and the other, and you can't get caught up in what others is doing because, of course, your life path is different, and all that is good and it sounds good, but it's just a continuous journey of like reminding yourself that what's for you is meant for you, and God has His own plan for you.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And again, it wouldn't be your story if it came from somebody else and it was identical to somebody else. And so I think that if we all kind of look at our biopic, like we all have so many different experiences and stories that make us who we are and as individuals, and we're still living that out. And so whatever is meant for you, and even this is God put this on my heart to tell this to whoever is feeling this. I don't know who's going through this, but I just feel like a lot of us are experiencing a lot of no's, a lot of like, doors being shut in front of our face or whatever. And, just think about it in a sense of, every no is a blessing because it's God preparing you for a better yes. And so you have to just continue to feel that, and you have to continue to rest in the fact that there's something even better than the situation that you think is the best situation in today. And so like, just think about that, and so whenever you're going through these circumstances and situations, amen, be like, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Like it's moving you into a space where you're going higher, you're going to be more equipped, you're going to be more appreciative of the journey that it took to get there, because you learned so much and you experienced so much before you get to that point. Okay, Michaela, then we had Key, and then we had Hadia.
Okay. It's so funny that Janiyah was talking about her injury, because literally I'm in that season of stillness. I know I put it in the group chat like a couple of days ago about my Achilles, but I got a second checkup on my Achilles today, and literally I'm going to be in a cast for like 6 weeks, and then I have to be in a boot, and then my full recovery won't even finish until like a whole year from now. So it's just like a whole testimony of like God just literally just taking everything from me and just like forcing me to like getting to know myself, working on things within myself. And it's just like crazy that like this is the time that's going on. It's a new year, everything's happening like within weeks of us entering this new year. So it's just crazy, aside from injuries, of like before I got the injury, like a day before, I wrote down all the goals that I have for myself, whether it be financial, fitness goals, related to my career and everything. And it was just like every little bit of that, it was just like, okay, Michaela, you said you want to do this, but like I got something better for you. And it's just like, you thought this was the goal that you have for yourself, but I have something bigger. And then it's just like, when that happens, you just feel like your world is like disrupted. So it's been a challenge for me. It's been a crazy week, but that's what I've been working on within myself. So it's just crazy, because even that we're having this message, because like, it's been a busy day. I'm like deciphering if I wanted to hop on Bible study tonight or not, but I feel like this is a message that I needed. You know what I mean?
Amen, man. And we're definitely gonna be praying with you and just continue to keep you in prayer, as you, walk through this entire journey, because every day's gonna feel different. I've had a serious injury before as well. And so every day is just different, like some days you feel really good, but there'll be low days. And so when you are low in those days, I just encourage you to continue to just lean on, God to really help, comfort you in these situations, and the people that are around you. You got a support system here that's always going to be here for you. And so, just continue to walk and just think about everything that's going to be on the other end of this, you know, a year from now and all of that. So excited for what God has in store for you. Key and then Dia.
Yeah, definitely praying for you, Michaela. I just appreciate everyone's transparency. Because you know, when you down, it's like I don't want to talk about how I'm being punched while I'm while I'm low. Like no one wants to talk about that. But I hope you remain encouraged as well. And even throughout this whole talk, I feel like God's saying, like, you know, we have to get to the point where, and this is for me specifically, getting to the point of embracing God's will. And all of that requires surrendering. It requires you really like submitting under God's will, like literally saying, I cannot do this. And man, I am very stubborn and hard-headed when it comes to that, because I see the tangible, and I'm very much we can hustle, we can make something work real quick. But also I feel like it also requires a new level of humility. Like we just think humility is just let me volunteer and have the people around me, but like when you start to create, when God starts to really develop humbleness within yourself, it really hits different. You are very appreciative when you get out. You're like, I don't ever want to go through that ever again. And I feel like even fast forwarding with Abram and him getting Isaac and eventually having to sacrifice him, he's like, man, you asking me to sacrifice my one and only child, but you done got me out of all this stuff. So like, yeah, I'm a little reluctant, but like I've seen history shows that you've been faithful to me before then. And I think that's also something to think about when we're dealing with, you know, the contentment comparison and just the patience aspect, is understanding that God has done so much prior to this. Like it's the reason why Abram said, oh, sovereign God, like you blessed me before. But yeah, it hurts right now. I ain't gonna lie, but let me just take a minute and still myself and think back on how you've come through before. And that's hard. So yeah.
Definitely hard, man. And it's gonna continue to be hard. It was hard for Abram. He's 100 years old, you know. So it's like, think about how much life he's seen and lived. We are in our 20s and it's hard. So just that should just be a testament that like life doesn't always just get easier. You just get stronger as you're going through life, and you are able to be equipped to like handle a lot more as you go forward. But it never gets easier. You know, it's still life. Just like we was talking about Chris beforehand, life be lifing, bro. You already know. We gonna make the life be life in t-shirts because, hey, that's one of them. That is one of them. Hadia, what's up?
Hola, sorry guys. I joined late, but I really did catch, like, I feel like the meat and potatoes. So I feel like I still got a good grasp of what was going on today. But today I really just had like a really great full circle moment. It was like so nice and just like refreshing. I'm my first child, so I won't say let me make a long story short because then it's gonna be long. But basically, like when my father was alive, like within months of him passing, like before that, I would take him to like Winship Cancer Institute at Emory University Hospital, and I would always be like, oh, this is so nice. Like when I do my stuff, I want to work here. I want to work here. Like it's so nice. I see all the nurses and I'm like, I want to work here. And so, but when he passed, you know, going through grief and depression and all of that, I kind of was just struggling to make it through my classes. And I stopped like applying to like nurse externships and like patient caretaker jobs just to give myself time to heal. Like, I'm like, all I can do is really get through these classes. I can't be working on top of all of that with like all of these emotions and everything like that. So, and I was in like pharm and med surg, and those are like really hard nursing classes that needed my full attention. But basically with nurse externships, it's kind of like school almost, like you can only apply at a certain time. So then I kind of like missed a lot of deadlines and stuff. So I'm like, dang, am I gonna get a nurse externship? That's kind of like a paid internship for nursing. So that was the 2020. And I just got one now in 2022 at the hospital that, well, patient care tech job at the hospital that my dad used to go to. And literally yesterday I drove up there to like make sure all my parking stuff was gonna work, because you never want to come to a shift and your parking stuff not working. First off, that's gonna ruin your day and make you late. So I went up there yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, I drove by the building for the first time since like I dropped my dad over there, and I literally started crying in my car. Like I was like, oh my God. Like I just started crying. I'm like, am I even gonna be able to drive on this street safely? Like crying like this. So it was really like nice, because that was the first time I cried about my dad, and my mind immediately went to stuff that I'm grateful for instead of stuff I coulda, shoulda, woulda did. It was immediately like, I was blessed to just have my father in my life. I was blessed to, and all that kind of stuff like that. All like just my brain, like just God, just talking to me and bringing up positive stuff in my life, positive reasons why everything is okay and things like that. So it was just really nice. And then on top of that, the nurse tech who was orienting me today literally was like the female version of my father. It was so, I was like, as soon as I met her, like she was in her 60s too, and she was like super sweet. That's why I was so late, because she needed a ride home, and I ended up giving her a ride home. But literally she was giving me the 411 all day, making sure I knew everything I needed to know to start working and stuff. But that was my little tidbit about like God will literally put you where he wants to put you when he wants to put you. God is like so specific. Like I've been reading in Leviticus, and y'all know how specific Leviticus is about if this person got a scratch here, then they got leprosy and all that kind of stuff like that. So it was just like really beautiful. Like, and this job is PRN. Like I get to choose my own schedule and stuff every week. So it just works like very well with like me still being in school and stuff like that. So that's my long story short that I really just made long.
Amen, bro. I'm so happy to hear that, man. And I'm so proud of you, man. That's amazing news. And I know that you're gonna do amazing things. You're gonna do amazing things inside the world. So just continue to just have that mindset that you have. You're one of the most positive people, you know, that we've ever met and stuff. And you know, that perspective and that spirit that you have is going to carry on into your job as you continue to go forward too. And so proud of you. You know, he's proud of you as well. And so definitely excited to hear as life progresses how that actually goes. But yeah, man, that's beautiful, bro. And this was a great conversation. I don't know if y'all felt, you know, how I felt through it, but I think that it was just a lot of like feelings and fullness, you know, when it comes to just like learning and growing in this aspect. I wanted to end it off with this. My pastor said it on Sunday, and I was just like, man, this is so dope. So, you know, we know that Abraham and Sarah, they both had their kid. Abraham was 100, Sarah was 90, you know, and you may think that like, you know, man, okay, they're about to kick the can in a little bit, you know, because they had 100, you know, so it's like how much further you can go. But, you know, it was even a beautiful thing that God allowed them to have a overextended life so they can still have a life with their blessing. You know, the part that our pastor said that, like, you know, in the Bible, to his knowledge, you know, and he looked it up and stuff like that, but to his knowledge, there is no, okay, Ace, what's up, buddy? Hey, come here. There is nobody else inside the Bible, woman-wise, that it records their death date or like how old they were when they died. And Sarah, she was 127 when she died. That means that she had 38 years to spend with Isaac. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just amazing to me that the Bible even just recorded that to show that, you know, God still can be able to God can still allow you to enjoy the benefit of like your blessing that you have. And then it's even crazier that Abraham, he died at 175, which means he died 38 years after Sarah died. So like just 38 was just like super cool as far as just the numbering that, you know, God was being so specific about. Okay, I'm gonna have 38 years where Sarah can actually enjoy Isaac, and then 38 years after that, then Abraham is gonna die. I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, man, that was pretty much it for me, man. Janiyah, what's up?
I kind of wanted to go back to like the patient thing, and I know like when before I went to college, we had like we had an outside service, and I know Pastor was like whoever wanted to, rededicate their life to Christ and everything, and I ended up rededicating my life to Christ and everything. And I told my mom, I was having a conversation with her, and I said, when I went to college, I never wanted to pull away from God because I knew that none of this is possible. None of my scholarships are possible. Me being here on this earth is impossible. And I found myself that I became into a dark place in college because I was so stressed about school that I end up pulling myself away. And it's just like, where do you kind of draw the line in between everything? Like, hey, I'm still here, but I need you to come back. And it's kind of like you just have to. I stopped praying, reading my Bible, just talking to God and everything. Stopped going to church, and it had got to a point, and I'm just like, I'm still here. I went through surgery, and I'm still here. And I know that there was a football player, a high school football player. I think in December, he passed away. He went through the exact same surgery as me, and it's just like, dang, like you pull away from him and he's done everything, and you just have to be patient on what he wants for you. And you can't just pull away. You might go through a dark time, but kind of pull back. And I was like that for like 3 months, but I realized I just have to be patient with him and just wait on his timing and just wait and see what he has for me, because I ended up passing my semester and I still have a good GPA, still have my scholarship. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh man, that is beautiful. And like you say, you're a walking testament by yourself, and so that's why I think that it's so important for you to even share your story with not only us, but with like the people that you encounter in college or whatever, because you're even blessed enough to have this kind of revelation in the year that you're in. You know what I'm saying? Like you're fresh into school, fresh into college. And so, I know how it is, going away to college and like, losing your faith because there's just so much that's going on that's distracting you. And so you just got to continue to, just keep God first and really be like disciplined when it comes to that. But then also be that light, what I'm saying? Be that salt in the world for everybody else around you, because you just never know what, can come from that specifically. And so I'm proud of you. And so, yeah, man, we wrapping. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to like add or say?
I just want,
Go Naya.
okay. I just wanted to add on one thing, just because I feel like I kind of had a conversation about age and timing today with one of my customers at the shop, and I don't know what just came onto my head. And we had a pretty long conversation because basically it was about her marriage with her husband. At one point she got married when she was 29, but she basically rushed into that marriage because she felt like she said I was desperate to be married. I was 29 and I was just like, it's time. And the first man that she ended up getting married to was like 5 years younger than her. And she said it was into the first 3 months of the marriage that she was just like, why did I do this? Why did I rush something that wasn't even really supposed to be for me? She said it took her 8 years for them to like eventually get a divorce. And then she ended up getting remarried when she was 51, and her husband now is like 15 years older than her. But she said that the way that their marriage comes together and like how she feels in this marriage is so completely different than the one that she was in before, the one that felt rushed versus the one that she actually felt connected with. And I asked her, I was like, were both marriages like centered in God? Like, did both of those relationships have God at the center? And she said She said yes. She said yes for this one. And she said even in the other one, like they both had relationships with God, but still in that first one, it was something that she was moving on her own with, a sort of thing. And so to kind of end the conversation, I had asked her, what was, I had asked her what I asked. I said, if you could tell yourself, your younger self, or even like a younger woman now, what advice would you give them when it comes to rushing a marriage, when you feel like you're rushing, or like you feel like you're running out of time, because she was 29. And basically she kind of said a whole long story, but she was like, basically just breathe, just chill, because what you think is for you is what she said, blessing comes in delays. I think we've talked about that before in here, haven't we? Blessings come in delays. So when you think that you're supposed to get something, but it takes longer to, or I mean, we just talked about that in this sermon. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. I was just rethinking about it today. So yeah.
That's good, man. And that's beautiful to hear. And again, you can have a relationship with God, but just because you have a relationship with God doesn't mean that, it just automatically means you can move your own way. We be having relationships with God, but we still move our own way, and then want God to bless us moving our own way. And it just doesn't work that way, and so that's a beautiful experience that you had. And I know you be having all of those experiences because you talk to everybody. So that'd be cool hearing it. Dia, and then Chris.
Oh, okay. Sorry, but I was literally thinking about that earlier today, like as I was just like reflecting, like with the experience I was having today, and I was just reflecting. It also just has a lot to do with where you put certain, like how you prioritize your love, like, and if it's like your first priority is romantic relationships, then you're not gonna have good relationships because you're putting too much priority on it. If God's not first, it's not gonna work. And literally, I was just like reflecting on that a little bit because 12-hour shifts, you be having time to think about stuff. So I was just thinking about that, and I was just like, dang, all these years I spent trying to put like guys first, trying to be like a relationship girl, instead of like just my mom's love alone, or my sister's love alone, my friends' love alone. Like that should have been like way before some of these guys. God first, of course, but just thinking about all the other like avenues like of people who love me in my life, it's just like you gotta appreciate everybody that loves you, not just like romantic relationships. Like, why does he get that little extra oomph? If that's not your husband, now it get different when it's your husband, then it go up a little bit. But these, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I've been up since 4:30 this morning.
No, you speaking, man. You speaking, definitely. We hear you, bro. You're 100% right. You over there preaching for real. Definitely preaching. Go ahead, Chris.
To that point about blessings coming delays, that's one I'm kind of in right now. I'm 19 years old. I still don't have a driver's license, for example. And I've been trying for a good minute. I got my permit almost a year ago now, and I've gotten hours. I just haven't had enough. I haven't had driving experience on a consistent basis. And even right now, I'm feeling pressured by other people in my life to get that license. And so I was kind of thinking about doing driving school, but I think this was God's way of saying, just wait a minute, don't move rashly. Just wait. I have something. I'm gonna take care of it.
You okay? I promise you, man. You're not the first person that was 19 and didn't have their driving license. You're not gonna be the last one, man. Literally, if Day was here, she would tell you that firsthand. Literally, she got her driver's license at 21. So, what I'm saying? And she just literally was like for real learning. So it's like, it's a process, and everybody's timing is not your timing. And so you just continue to move the way that you move and what's comfortable for you, but also don't allow the comfortability of waiting to be the thing that holds you back from actually, taking on that leap of faith of, trying, and so as long as you have the heart posture to want it and try, then, you just allow God to do the rest, but you'll be fine, man. Um, anybody else?
I have something really quick.
What's up?
Because I know a lot of people on here are kind of like low-key struggling with a lot of stuff. And when you're struggling, it could really be 10 times harder to try to like reach out to God. And I think in this story specifically, we see how Abram was still keeping the lines of communication open. But also, I think it's beautiful how God was meeting him right where he was, even in his wretchedness. Like they was being real raggedy out here, and he was like, God, like y'all, like do y'all want me to scream at you? And sometimes he will, but it's like, listen to him, but also like really pushing past your emotions and really like trying to make the effort to still, keep that intimacy with God, because that's going to be the lifeline that helps guide you and know, okay, right from wrong, and is this what he wants me to do, or is this just my voice, or is this the devil? You know what I mean? Because if we're being honest, some Thursdays it's like the laptop will be sitting in front of me, and I'm like, but the way my week went, I don't want to. But you never know, like the thing that Christopher says or the thing that Dree says is literally the thing that will push you off, or be what am I trying to say? Be the thing that you need to hear, or the next leading step or instruction that you need. Because sometimes we get in our own ways by not listening and not trying to like talk to the person who knows what's going on. It's a reason why it says like the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Like it's like he knows everything that's going on. It may feel like he's distant right now. It may feel like he's just watching you struggle. But I promise you, God is so very near. He's just literally knocking at the door like, you gonna let me in? Like, I don't want to just barge in, but like, can I come in, please? Like, you gotta let him in. So I just felt like that needed to be mentioned.
Amen. 1,000%. You just never know. Allow God to use everybody in here, man. God, like Najar just said, God is a gentleman. He is not going to force himself on you. He is going to sit there and wait as long as he has to, but it's up to you to let him in, man. So that's good, man. It's been a great conversation. I hope, again, this was edifying for everybody that's inside this group. I hope y'all were spiritually charged up from this. I will type up the notes, and I'm going to post the notes inside the chat and also on the Instagram. But definitely, and I'm gonna put it on the YouTube, but definitely, again, I want this to grow. I think that this conversation that we had is a beautiful conversation and a needed conversation. I plan on putting it on YouTube if you feel uncomfortable, because I know it was more of a vulnerable conversation that we had this week than other weeks. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just let me know and I won't put it on there. I'll have it unlisted just for our members and stuff. But I definitely feel like something like this conversation is needed. So if you have like friends, you have family members or somebody that you feel can be like moved from this, we can use it as like a podcast, and we can just have it, you know what I'm saying, on YouTube, where people can just hear it on a daily basis and actually touch the world. And so that's it for me. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. We can go ahead and get into the praise reports and prayer requests for everybody else who hasn't did their praise reports. I'm about to end the recording right now. So